Baby, you're all I need, I know. But baby, oh baby, the Death Star's coming, and all the rebels around us are running.
Oh, big time, met you on Ridge Road, and I would do anything for you and then more.
Well, the time has finally come. The one Star Wars property worth getting excited about, Andor, returns for its second season tomorrow, actually, Tuesday, the 22nd of April. There's an interesting release format for this season. Last season, they released one episode at a time, and I think it was a little hard for people to get into it. It was a little slow at first. People didn't really know the characters. They didn't know what it was about. The name Andor doesn't really draw viewers. It probably should have been called something like Star Wars Rebellion or something to kind of give people more of a sense of what the show is actually about. But it was great. It was perfect. It was wonderful. Season 1 is so good. It drives me crazy when people say it's boring, because slow does not mean boring. And while it takes a while to warm up, it just keeps heating up until it's boiling over by the end of season 1. And it tells the story, of course, of Cassian Andor and how he joins the rebellion. You know, goes from being a thief and a smuggler to being a full-blown rebel spy. Vis-a-vis a character played by Stellan Skarsgård, Luthen Rael. Now, Luthen Rael is like this secretive spy master. He poses as an antiquities dealer in Coruscant, and while all the while he's sort of spinning his web of secrecy and spycraft. And season 2, I won't spoil anything. This is a spoiler-free review, so you're not going to get any details from me except for very broad stroke stuff. So that's good, because you won't get this amazing season spoiled. But I'll talk about more details later in future videos when we talk about individual arcs. So this season they're releasing it 3 at a time. So in season 1 it was kind of structured that way. 3 episodes made 1 chapter for the most part. And you'd sort of build to the culmination of that chapter. There'd be some sort of big showdown or heist or escape or confrontation, and all the way up through the 12th episode. And these are all like meaty, like hour-long episodes too. Now they're releasing them in 3 episode chunks, so you'll get all 3 of the first episodes of season 2 on Tuesday, the next 3 after that, the next 3 after that. It's 12 hours of amazing television, so it's pretty exciting. I think this was probably a smart move. At the same time, I kind of wish they were releasing 1 episode at a time, because it's more fun to talk about it for 12 weeks than for 4 weeks, and I can make more content, and we can talk about each individual episode. Though I feel this way more about the second half of the season, because the first half is, once again, more of a slow burn than the second half, which it goes all crazy and huge. So I kind of wish they were releasing like the first 3 episodes, then the second 3 episodes, and then 1 episode per week for the next 6 weeks or something, because there is just so much that goes on in those last episodes. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. People want to know, is this as good as season 1? Is this better than season 1? And you've seen some social media reactions at this point with people saying it's better than season 1, best Star Wars ever. I really put it neck and neck. I don't think I have a favorite. I think season 1 and season 2 are about equal in terms of quality, in terms of kind of the story that they tell. They're very different in a lot of ways. Season 1 was mostly about Cassian, coming to the rebellion. It's his story of moving from smuggler to rebel. And so you have different arcs where, he's not at all interested in being part of this. He joins a heist on Aldhani to make money. Then he gets arrested for not even committing a crime and sentenced to a really ridiculous imprisonment in this labor facility. And there's that whole prison escape sequence, which is just incredible. There's I don't know, that may be still my favorite part of all of Andor, but either way, he then returns to Ferrix, and there's the whole kind of culmination of his mother Marva dying and giving her posthumous speech about rebellion and fighting, and everything goes crazy, and he escapes with Bix, who's been tortured, and some other Ferrix friends, and he then tells Luthen that he wants to be part of his rebellion. So we pick up a year later, roughly. Each arc in the second season takes place a year apart. So it begins about a year after season 1 ends. First 3 episodes take place, then a year later, then a year later, then a year later. Each arc is a moment in time separated by a year. What this season does very, very differently is that it is much, much more of a spy thriller at this point. So it's not about Andor joining the rebellion. It's about him being part of it. And you have sort of a spy versus spy thing going on. Because you still have Dedra Meero, who's I think one of the best villains in Star Wars, certainly one of the best female characters in Star Wars. You know, she's still with the ISB, but there are new plans going on at the ISB. We have the return of Director Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn's character from Rogue One. You have Cyril returning as well. I'm not going to give away any details of what he's up to, but there is a lot of plotting going on in the Imperial side of things, and then you have the Rebels, and neither side knows fully what the other is doing. So there's a lot of spy versus spy stuff. It's very much a spy games thriller at this point. And you don't know exactly where it's all headed either. And it builds through each arc through there's one sort of through line that has to do with the planet Gorman and the Empire's plans for this planet. And there's a whole reason for this, but most people don't know. Most people, it's a very select few who know what Gorman's true, value is. And so you have Luthen and his group on one side, but it's much more factional than that because you also have now the fledgling rebellion that isn't, under Luthen's control anymore. It has other leaders. As we saw in Rogue One, on the planet or the moon Yavin 4. Am I getting that right? Anyways, we see Mon Mothma, various other leaders. I won't get into all of them, but anyways, so this season is really much more of a spy thriller. It also has more, I want to say romance. It's not a lot of romance. Don't worry. This isn't like a romantic show by any means, but there are elements of romance. You also have the fallout from what happened in season 1, like Bix's character in particular went through a very traumatic event, and she deals with that trauma in season 2. It's very heavy. It's very dark. It's very adult. There's drug use. There's the threat of sexual assault. There's a lot of violence. There's some pretty intense sequences. There's propaganda. There's the themes of the first season, which dealt with authoritarianism versus freedom, very much carry over into some very powerful moments in season 2. And numerous characters are part of this. Mon Mothma, and there are just some extraordinarily intense sequences, especially in the second half of the season. So that's what I would say also is, if you feel like things are a little slow in the beginning, that's because this is a show that likes to build up the tension through multiple arcs. So you'll have that rising tension in the first arc and a resolution, and then a slightly more intense build up in the second arc and resolution. And then shit just goes crazy later on in the season, where it just like picks up and gets super, super crazy for a long time, leading up, of course, to Rogue One. And I won't say exactly how that happens, but of course this is a prequel to Rogue One, so no surprise, we get right up to the events of Rogue One by the end of this season. It's just so well made. I mean, that's the thing. Like you compare this to some of the shit that Disney has put out for Star Wars, like Obi-Wan, which I thought was dreadful, or the Book of Boba Fett, which was also dreadful, or The Acolyte, which is, it's funny because The Acolyte's often touted as like, oh, it's so diverse and it's queer friendly and all these things. But really, honestly, I think Andor is more of those things. It is more diverse. There are more strong female characters. There is a extraordinarily diverse cast, and there is a front and center queer relationship. But the thing about this is that they don't make it about those things. Those characters aren't defined by their skin color or their sexual preferences or any of that. They're defined by their characters, what they do, what role they have to play in the rebellion or the empire, how they act, the choices they make. Someone like Luthen Rael is an extremely complex character. He is ruthless. He is willing to do terrible things. So is Andor, to a lesser degree, but he's still a hero, right? He is still fighting for this just cause. And then someone like Dedra, who is, vicious and ruthless in her own way, is also a complex enough character that you don't just feel scorn or spite for her. You actually you wonder about her. Her character makes me think a lot. And same with Cyril, who's very devoted to what he believes is right, but he has to confront things in this season that you wonder how, it's not black and white. None of this is black and white. These characters and their motivations and their arcs are dynamic enough and complex enough that they feel like real people in real situations, even though we're in this, imperial, galaxy far, far away in the early days of the rebellion. So, everything is just extraordinary though. The performances, the acting is better than in most Star Wars anything. The writing, again, I don't think that there's a couple moments in season 1. Luthen Rael gives a speech about like what he's sacrificed that I think is one of the finest moments in all of Star Wars. And frankly, one of the best monologues in TV. I don't think there's anything quite on that level in season 2, just in terms of like a pocket of really good writing, but it's just very well written throughout anyways. You can't always have those moments, right? Same with like Nemik's little treatise on how authority is brittle and freedom is organic. I thought that was just so brilliant. And I'm not sure that there's anything quite on those lines, but there are some really great moments still. So it is very similar in tone. It's very similar in kind of that murky gray area that they walk through this story to season 1, but it's much more of a spy thriller rather than this sort of budding rebel story. And while Diego Luna's Andor is the central character, you do get a little bit more of a lot of other characters. You get more of Clea, who's the assistant to Luthen Rael. You get more of her story. You get more of Will, who was one of the teenager or the young man on Ferrix whose father was killed. You get more of him and his role in the rebellion, and you see returning characters like Saw Gerrera and a number of others. Vel, obviously Mon Mothma. You get to go to Chandrila, Mon Mothma's home planet. And here's where I have to say the costume design is just absolutely they better win something for the costume design. It's great throughout. I even think like in the halls of the ISB where you've got everyone in their crisp white uniforms. I think those are extraordinarily well-made costumes, but in Chandrila you have you'll see, it's crazy. Do I have any complaints? The one thing you'll see, well, I don't even know if I should talk about this because I don't want to spoil anything. I'll talk about this in a later video. There's one thing that was just kind of didn't feel like very Star Wars to me, but it's a really minor quibble, so don't let that worry you. So I don't really have any complaints. I feel like this is another perfect season of television. Like I think Andor season 1 was perfect. This was perfect. And there aren't that many seasons or shows that can say that. Like I have some shows that I rank really, really high. Like Severance that first season was perfect, but season 2 I felt like made some weird choices. Even though it was very good still, I still walked away thinking, oh, I wish they'd done that differently. And then there's shows like Westworld, which has a perfect first season and then just never lives back up to that. But this is just neck and neck. Season 1, season 2, they feel like the continuation of the same show, the same story and the same quality throughout. So you have 24 episodes now of this remarkable show that is just on such another level than anything else Disney has put out. It's just everything else pales in comparison. I went and watched Rogue One directly after I watched the last episode. Well, I started Rogue One, but it was too late at night. So the next day I finished Rogue One after watching the last episode of season 2 of Andor. And it's a great movie, but it's not on the level of Andor, right? It's funnier, definitely, because Andor is not funny. Except for you do get K2SO, the droid played by Alan Tudyk from Rogue One. He shows up in season 2. So you get some of his comic relief, but overall Rogue One is funnier, but it still has some things that bug me. Like it's still very, you have like the CGI Grand Moff Tarkin, and I just wish they'd done that as a hologram instead of trying to like show off their facial CGI prowess, because he doesn't look real and it throws me out of the movie every time I watch it. They could have just had him be a hologram. That would have worked so well. Just have Krennic talking to him that way. But still, fantastic movie. It's probably the best movie in the Star Wars Disney era, and Andor is the best show. And really, if I had it my way, I would just take everything else out. Mando season 1 and 2. I like The Mandalorian. It's not on level that Andor is, but it's still a lot of fun. Keep those. keep Andor season 1 and 2, keep Rogue One, just ditch everything else except for maybe the animated stuff. I know they did a lot of good stuff with the animated stuff, but all the other live action stuff, just toss it out. The Acolyte, Boba Fett, all that shit. Ahsoka, gone. And just get Tony Gilroy and his team to make all the Star Wars. No, I wouldn't even want that because they make a very specific kind of Star Wars, this sort of like World War II spy thriller, very serious, very gritty. But I also want in Star Wars, I still want my Jedi. I still want my lightsaber duels. I just want that to be made by people as competent as Tony Gilroy and not the jokers behind the Acolyte, you know? So that's where I'm at with this show. Again, no spoilers. You'll see when you see it. I'll make some more videos as the season progresses and we can talk about specific things. And I hope you enjoy it. And I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on Andor. And of course, when you do watch the first 3 episodes this week, your thoughts on those. So be sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, shoot me any questions you want down in the comments. Also, I'll answer what I can. And peace.
I met you on Ridge Road, and I would do anything for you and then more.
Baby, oh baby, Luthen's calling, and all the stars around us are falling. You are the girl in the night, I want to just hold me tight, whisper my name and it'll be alright. Thanks, baby.